Support WrestleTalk!
Donate on Patreon.
Will dual-branded pay-per-views save WWE? I'm Ollie Davis, this is Luke Owen, welcome to WrestleRamble. Yes, that's a hyperbolic statement. WWE don't really need saving, they're doing quite comfortably financially and attendance-wise, although things are going down, ratings-wise are going down. And Raw, in particular, has been very good in 2018. SmackDown has been in a holding to below average holding pace. And this is why the news, the potential reports that the pay-per-view structures will be going back to not going back to, but becoming dual-branded pay-per-views all throughout the year rather than just the big 4 or 5.
Yeah, and which I think makes sense, really, because the whole idea behind doing the brand exclusive things is because they want to make them feel like they're at war with each other. Like the original pitch that Vince McMahon did when he announced the brand split was like, Stephanie, I want you to run Raw, and Shane, I want you to run SmackDown. I want you to be in direct competition. I want you to be competing over ratings and competing over superstars X, Y, and Z. Then that's never really came to fruition unless Survivor Series comes around. Then
Under siege, man, yeah.
Well, exactly, unless Survivor Series is around, but then that instantly gets dropped as soon as December hits.
It's the one time a year,
One time a year, apart from all the other times. But so because they're not really doing that sort of thing anymore, and like Michael Cole has done commentary for SmackDown, and Corey does both shows, there doesn't really feel like there's much of this like brand, like identity brand war between them. So you may as well just do the dual branded shows.
Yeah, it'll be 2 years in, won't it?
Yeah.
It was July. It was a magical summer, I remember.
Yeah.
I was so excited. But then it was like when they first announced the brand split, it was the first year I was properly working on the YouTube channel and WrestleTalk. And I remember being so blindly excited and then full of dread at what the last brand split ended up being, which was just lip service, and everyone appeared on all the brands. Hated it by the end.
I'll tell you what I got excited by. When SmackDown did their first brand exclusive pay-per-view, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Backlash, actually.
It always is.
Well, I know we joke that it was Backlash, but I think it actually was Backlash this time.
No.
I'm almost certain
because
it was.
Backlash would have been after a Mania, right?
No, I think they'd actually moved.
Was this the year it was like in
Yeah, they had it later
September?
in the year,
Okay,
yeah. So I think it actually was Backlash. But it was a 2.5 hour show. And I watched that and I was like, oh, okay, they're doing these dual brand shows, they're going to be shorter. That's great. This seems like a really good thing. Not that only after that one show, just ran half an hour short. Everything else has been 3 to 4 hours since then.
Chuck on a pre-show. If one good thing has come of this, the social media lounge. So when this news came out, Dave Meltzer pointed out on Wrestling Observer Radio, well, this should help feuds not feel so stale. And that was like a eureka moment for me. I never blamed the WWE's really bad habit of extending out feuds where you just have New Day programmed against Uso for 6 months, Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose against The Bar for eternity, Dolph Ziggler versus Baron Corbin. These feuds just go on for months and months and months, far past their sell-by date. And some of these are great feuds that produce
At the start,
that produce fantastic in-ring action, but you get tired of it after a while. And for some reason, I just thought, I blame this on just WWE being lazy in my head, or on the fact that Raw's 3 hours long. So it's like an oversaturation of the product. I never thought that by effectively having a pay-per-view every 1.5 to 2 months, you are toying with the build process. But that in this day and age, so you would usually have 4 weeks blow off at the pay-per-view, 4 weeks of TV blow off. That's how I was brought up as a wrestling fan. But now it's 6 weeks to 7 weeks to 8 weeks.
I think they still were every month though, weren't they? Because it felt like there was a pay-per-view every 2 weeks. Because I'm almost certain it felt like there was 4 weeks between shows and pay-per-views.
How do you mean?
So there would be a SmackDown pay-per-view, then 4 weeks later there would be another SmackDown pay-per-view. But in that 4 weeks, in the 2 week mark, there'd have been a Raw pay-per-view, because 4 weeks previous to that they'd have had another Raw pay-per-view. They were kind of this sort of like crossover thing. And I think that worked for like a lot of the year, but then towards the end of the year, that's when they like really split them apart. And it felt like you had, like Raw had Survivor Series, and then the next time they had a pay-per-view was Royal Rumble. So like that was like I felt a really long gap because there wasn't a December show. So that's when the like feuds just feel really stagnant, particularly because you had like Rollins and The Bar with Jason Jordan or with Dean Ambrose, and which coupled with all the SummerSlam stuff, just felt like everything was going on forever. But I think that you're right that this should help stagnant feuds because you can just kind of like cycle through different feuds. You can bring new people into them, kind of keep things fresh, and you don't have to just keep sticking with the same people. Because when you have a brand exclusive pay-per-view, you have, say, like Bobby Roode defending the United States Championship against X, but then you want to do Bobby Roode versus against Y, but Y has got to have his own feud because you need to fill out the rest of the cards for SmackDown. So then Y gets stuck in this feud here, which means Bobby Roode has to be stuck in this feud with X. And then that's why things just like keep getting, just like nothing moves forward. Everything just stays in the same place that it always is.
I want you to write that equation on a whiteboard.
Yeah.
And then our janitor to walk by, see it, look at it, and solve it. And we walk in the next day and be like, "Stop graffitiing, Mr. Janitor Man! We don't pay you to write over our stuff." Well done for solving it.
Or we walk in and we're like, "Oh, you've solved the brand problem, the brand split problem. Well done."
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and then we kill it and
we
take that
Yeah.
as our own. We pass it off as our own work.
Something like that, yeah. I can't really remember how that film ends.
No,
but I'm pretty sure it was like that.
Yeah.
So I think this could be a really good thing. I've seen quite a few people online. Because I said, I really hope this happens. And a lot of people got in touch with me to say that they're worried that means that a lot of new stars won't be able to get pay-per-view time because your shows will like have a Universal Championship match, a WWE Championship match, and your United States Championship match, an Intercontinental Championship match, 2 Tag Team Championship matches, 2 Women's Championship. Like that's 9 matches already.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much the whole card. It's Clash of Champions every single month. So are you going to be able to have undercard feuds?
Good old blood feud. It could be a main event thing just without a title.
Exactly. Are you going to be able to have those on pay-per-views when you've got 9 championships that need to be defended every single month?
Oh man, I'm up and down on this.
Yeah.
Because for every I'm really excited about every month there being a big blow off at the same time, and Raw and SmackDown can kind of run in sync. It'll feel like a big show with really, huge star power you would hope for. And that makes total sense if you want people to buy the network. Here's, you've got 2 shows promoting this one thing. All right, I'll buy it. I'll fork over my money. Rather than this show promoting that one and this show promoting that one. It's like, it's less of a decision paralysis. But as you said that, all those matches being title matches, and those shows are going to be longer, maybe. Like, we've kind of been spoilt with 2.5, 3-hour pay-per-views of WWE, of the lesser ones. Could the standard become 3 to 4 hours? And like you said, a lot of people not being on the card. Like, surely this means Breezango are never going to wrestle on pay-per-view again.
That Ascension feud is never going to happen. What's going to happen with Mojo Rawley? He's never going to get on the card either. And there's a lot of these guys that might struggle. Ty Dillinger's another one. He'll struggle to get on a card if it's always about championship matches, and he's not in championship pictures. Although he was 10th in the SmackDown top 10, so
counts for a lot.
You'd think that would put him in a championship opportunity. But Dolph. And Corbin. But it's so I think there are up and downs to it. I kind of like it because
can't say that.
Kind of what?
It's someone else's thing.
Yeah, sorry.
There are positives and negatives.
Yeah, the positives and negatives are vast for them. So I'm conflicted. But the other side of this as well is that this was kind of revealed because people who got tickets to Backlash got an email from Ticketmaster that said this show will feature the stars of Raw and SmackDown Live, and I was like, oh right, it's a dual branded show. And then that's been revealed, rumoured to be, because WrestleZone have reported that's because it's going to hold the draft. It's going to hold the first ever 2018's WWE draft. And that's why both of them are going to be there. Makes it into a big pay-per-view event. Get the ball rolling on that sort of thing. So, if it is just a draft show, is that actually going to be the moving forward of it being dual branded? Or is it just that one show? Because it's a draft show, but it's still a Raw exclusive pay-per-view. Just the SmackDown guys are going to be there because they may get drafted to Raw.
I think if either of those two reports are wrong, one being the draft is going to happen at Backlash, the other one being all pay-per-views are going to be dual-branded going forward, I think the dual-branded pay-per-views going forward is the correct one, because too many places have reported that separately, and you just look at the business model. It doesn't really work. You're putting on an enormous expense, 2 pay-per-views a month, and it hasn't justified itself in terms of more network subscribers.
Or ticket sales.
Or anything,
I think SmackDown pay-per-views in particular really struggle. Like, no one really bothers. I mean, obviously, they do well in ticket sales, but they're not selling out arenas. But if you were to have both Raw and SmackDown guys there, because then you can have other big Raw names on there, because they're always presented as the bigger stars, then people are more likely to go. And that's not a slight on the guys and girls on SmackDown. It's just that's the way that WWE always present things. SmackDown is always presented as the B show,
and it's diluted.
And it's in what sense?
The whole, if you had both rosters, a Raw and SmackDown super roster, is far more appealing, than them split apart.
So you saw it like it was before the brand split, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, I always thought brand split was going to be a terrible idea anyway. I hated the brand split last time. And I was never really that keen on it because all of a sudden then you have 2 world champions, you have 2 tag team champions. Then when you go, and I knew this was going to happen, I knew eventually they would just give up on the idea of brand exclusive pay-per-views and just start doing dual branded ones. All of a sudden you end up with 2 sets of tag team champions, 2 mid-card champions, 2 women's champions, and it's like, well, now we just got a whole pay-per-view full of championship matches.
Trios championship.
Well, that's what you want.
That's one way to mix it up.
You want to add in. And are they going to do what they did last time, which is merge the tag team belts together again? Are they going to merge
and have them on both brands?
And have them on, yeah. Well, so like the Usos win them, the tag team championships are just then defended on SmackDown.
I want to go back to the draft thing because I didn't really think about it until we were talking. You've got WrestleMania. And then the next pay-per-view a month after is Backlash. We're used to having the draft or the superstar shake-up the week after or, like the week after Mania. Because you don't want to recycle all those feuds. You can start afresh from Backlash, which kind of it should be called like New Beginnings in Sapporo or something. And that means that month after WrestleMania is just going to be a wet fart of stuff that doesn't really matter after Backlash.
Well, yeah, I suppose, because you are going to be building these matches. And are they going to announce that they're going to be building SmackDown matches for that show as well? Or is it just going to be Raw-only matches? Because if it is, SmackDown's going to be even more of a wet fart because you're going to be building to feuds that might not even pay off because they've...
For another, 2 months.
Another 2 months. It's going to be a really interesting period, but could lead to some pretty awful television.
The title was How This Can Save WWE.
Yeah.
I do think dual branded pay-per-views are overall it's going to create a better product.
I 100% agree, but there are logistic issues that you need to get around.
It's time for the mailbag. All Patreon donators can now submit questions. You just go onto Patreon and you type like this and you send a God, look, my wrists have taken on a life of their own there. You send us a message.
For podcast listeners.
You send a message. In air quotes. Here's my wrists. So John Reed says, being a wrestling fan for as long as I have, there have been moments that have made me think about stopping, or to put in better terms, walk out on wrestling. This could range from quit watching wrestling altogether, or just a certain promotion. You could come back to that promotion after a while, but as long as it made you stop watching it. For me personally, I stopped watching TNA after the lack of interest they had in my favourite wrestler, Jimmy effing Havoc. He's put in the effing, which made me look and see that they improperly used the likes of Kazuchika Okada, Tyler Black, etc. Was Tyler Black in TNA?
I can remember
Seth Rollins is
yes.
Tyler Black.
Maybe he was there like really in the early days.
Wow.
Like in this, when they were in the carnival days, where there's I think like the Tennessee Fair or something like that. Like the
TNA.
Yeah, like they used to do their show like when they were doing the weekly pay-per-views.
Oh no! He wouldn't have been then. No.
Well, CM Punk was there.
Was he?
Yeah, Punk was there for like a couple of months.
Oh wow.
He was teamed with
This sounds like it's a lot more recent, though.
He was teamed with Mickie James before Mickie James went to WWE.
You look at that. So for every success they had, they seemingly had 2 failures. To basically recap the question, is there a moment that turned you away from either wrestling entirely or a company?
Yeah, TNA is the one I'd go to because I was trying to think when I stopped watching TNA, if there was a certain moment that turned me off from watching TNA.
It's never that, is it? It's never even the people who go, I'm rage quitting, this is the last straw. They tend to watch. And
I'm unsubscribing from the network months later.
The real ones are like, you just over time you miss an episode and, I didn't really miss it. Then you miss another one, you miss another one, and then you just stop watching. Yeah.
So I think with TNA, oh man, I don't think there was a moment, but it was probably about 2011 maybe I stopped watching. I think it was when the company really started to, like, they weren't putting on monthly pay-per-views anymore, and it just felt like it wasn't a promotion that really cared. Like, it felt like they didn't really care about the product themselves. And then I just stopped caring. And at that point as well, I thought WWE was really starting to do good stuff. Like, I got into TNA because WWE was just it was awful. It was dreadful to watch. And TNA never did anything to pull me back in. Like, I've tried to watch Impact Wrestling. I've got it set up on my planner on TV to watch. And it just sits there, just episodes rack up, and I never watch them. I try, and then I'm like, they're not for me. And then I walk away from it again. Just wait till there's 10 episodes and then clear them out and wait for another 10 episodes to record. I may as well just cancel the recording, really. Has there ever been a moment, though, for you that's made you nearly stop watching WWE?
Well, I'll say my TNA one because it's quite similar. I used to be a TNA diehard, as did you.
I was so diehard for TNA.
And I've told this story before. I remember walking around on whatever New Year it would have been, New Year, and then 4 days later, was it January 4th or January 8th? It was January 8th. I'm mixing up with Wrestle Kingdom. You were going to have TNA with Hulk Hogan, and they were going to go live on Monday night, and it was going to be awesome.
God, it was so
and
exciting.
WWE brought back Bret Hart. And I was just telling anyone who would listen on this New Year's Eve party, nobody wanted to listen, that this was the new big thing, and it was going to be like wrestling was going to become mainstream again.
The Monday Night War is back!
And that wasn't what happened. But it was a mixture of like that optimism of, I was so into TNA and I was waving the flag everywhere, to it just a year of, me looking, it's good, yeah, this will get better.
Yeah.
And just like a year to 2 years of that. And that whole Hogan era really sort of just gradually sapped away my fandom. And the last thing I remember properly watching was the Aces and Eights stuff.
Yeah, the Aces and Eights actually pulled me back in because
that was like the Bully Ray reveal.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
There was a moment during that. I think it was his wedding to Brooke Hogan.
Where
he has like, he like kind of looked
and a boob slip. Brooke Hogan's boob slips out.
I don't remember that, but
everyone's gonna Google it.
Everyone will Google it now. But the Ace and Eight still kind of pulled me back in because, like you, I was so excited about the Monday Night War returning and Hogan and Bischoff were there. I was like, this is going to be a big turning point for TNA. Like, I've loved this company now for the past 5 years, and here it is now. This is going to, like, actually more than that because I got into my first year of university, which was 2004. So I was like, it's 6 years in the making. This is it. This is its time. And then it was like, oh, the Nasty Boys are back. Oh, Sean Waltman and Scott Hall are TNA Tag Team Champions, but Scott Hall's not really wrestling because he's Scott Hall in 2010. Oh, Kevin Nash is here as well, and it's like, oh, it's all of Hogan's mates. When's Brutus the Barber Beefcake turning up? I suppose.
Or Bubba the Love Sponge.
Bubba the Love Sponge, and it just felt like, and it did become a bit of the Hulk Hogan show. Some really awful Russo writing didn't help things. Then they turned AJ Styles into Ric Flair Light, like that gimmick. And then, oh my god, this is so, like, the storyline was essentially Hulk Hogan gave Abyss his WWE Hall of Fame ring, and that made Abyss more powerful, like he was Green Lantern. And it was it was at these points I'm like, oh man, this company's never going to beat WWE, and it's never going to compete with them either. So
because that was really when TNA started to try and be like WWE.
Yeah, rather than being an alternative.
I've spoken about it before. There's the Stephanie McMahon, Chris Jericho, Triple H dog storyline in 2002, which put me off wrestling as a teenager. Didn't come back to it until uni. So that was when I actually did stop watching WWE. But this is the one, I've spoken about this as well, mostly in our Money in the Bank 2011 review, the Patreon exclusive podcast that we did, that you can still get if you go over and donate.
Actually, you can get it for free. I mean, I should really be pushing the fact that you can get it by backing on Patreon. But we did release it as a Christmas gift, the Christmas presents in our podcast feed.
Yeah, so just subscribe to the podcast and scroll through and you'll find it if you want to listen to it. But... And this is like, a lot of people say, oh, CM Punk, he's overrated. He walked out on WWE, yada, yada, yada. I will always hold such a dear place in my heart for Punk because without him, I wouldn't be here now. Because the other time I was closest to walking out on WWE was after the Nexus storyline. Great angle, great debut. SummerSlam happened. They could have handled better. And then it was just, they did everything wrong over the next 3 or 4 months. And I was out of my mind. And Punk was just the saving grace in all this. Wasn't he injured for a while there as well? He was on commentary. But then came the pipe bomb. And I'm not kidding. That pipe bomb reignited my love of not just WWE. Well, I only knew WWE back then. Then after that, I went back and watched his Ring of Honor stuff. I got into Ring of Honor really heavily. Started to go into British independent promotions. Was there for Progress Chapter 2. Yeah, so that moment, but out of the ashes of Phoenix rose. So thanks, Punk.
Yeah, for me, like when I stopped watching wrestling in 2002, it was the brand split, which kind of sort of turned me off from wrestling.
Shortly before, I think.
Was it shortly before?
Mine was.
Oh, yours, yeah. And it was when Raven lost a loser leaves Raw match, and that was it. He was gone from the company, and he was my favourite. And I was like, no, I'm done now. I'm not watching wrestling anymore. My favourite's gone. And I just stopped watching wrestling completely. And then I nearly stopped watching WWE again when I was in my last year of university, maybe my second to last year, 2006 essentially. It was when DX reunited. And that whole thing, and I've rewatched it when I was rewatching, I went through my experiment of watching all the pay-per-views in order, and that was a dark period. Oh, it was just awful, and it's embarrassing to watch. I remember being there as a student, just thinking like, this is really embarrassing. And the only reason I was still watching it is because my housemate was still he was a diehard WWE guy. He didn't really want to like TNA because he was a WWE guy. Bless his heart, I love him to pieces. And I was there going like, nah, mate, TNA's where it's at. Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle. This is the feud you want to get behind, even though Kurt Angle's probably not in the best shape. He probably shouldn't be wrestling.
Time.
It was a different time.
We didn't care about stuff back then.
So yeah, I think that was...
What's a concussion?
So the DX reuniting was a period I nearly completely turned off from WWE.
It's the quick fire wrestling question round. We're going to come up with a snappier name.
Yeah, if you go back, if you haven't listened to the podcast from Saturday where we kind of talked about this new way of doing
and
it.
how Luke was annoyed.
And how I didn't really like this new way of doing it because you sprung it upon me and this was my favourite segment and you've now just changed it.
Put a time limit on it. That's all I've done. To make it a quick fire round.
But you spent so long answering one question, so it's not quick fire. So there's a big discussion on the Saturday podcast that you can listen to where we're trying to work out how best to do this from now on. So we're trying to make this as quick fire as possible, but sometimes they're not that quick.
No,
so
we've got they're short questions and it's a 5-minute time limit. It's the quick fire round.
That's okay, there we go. It's the quick fire round.
Yeah.
Let's see how this works this time.
Okay, so I've got to read the questions really fast, and then we can talk and yep. So 5 minutes, here we go. Tanmay Trivedi asks, tag team titles for the women's division, Raw and SmackDown.
No, there's
not.
not.
What do you think, Luke?
No, there's not enough people on the roster.
Yeah, same. I don't think that's a good idea.
You would just end up with, Bayley and Sasha won it, and then they feuded with Absolution. Then who do Bayley and Banks feud with after that?
And it's just so many titles. And the fact that it's on both brands.
Yeah.
If anything, it should just be one. RHC, Swaggy, Omega, or Styles?
Big question, but
that is a tough one.
But I think just because I've watched him for since like 2004, I've got to go AJ Styles. Like AJ's always been my boy. He was what drew me into TNA. He was the reason. Like I watched an Ultimate X match with him. It was on one of their first pay-per-views. I think it was Final Resolution or something. The very first pay-per-view they did, maybe Victory Road. And I was like, this is the most amazing guy I've ever seen in my life. And it was from that I went and bought like FWA DVDs and I got some like Ring of Honor stuff so I could see AJ Styles more. So Styles has always been my boy.
I'm going to go, just for the spirit of debate, Kenny Omega, because I think I'm very much like promo and character. And although Styles in ring, I think he's better than Omega. Even then you couldn't. It's close.
That's close.
I think overall Kenny Omega presentation of his character is better. That's just pips it. Niv, CM Punk return or Daniel Bryan return?
Daniel Bryan return because he actually wants to do it.
Yeah, but he might kill himself.
If he's okay.
How dare you, Luke? Look at you.
That's very true. I hadn't considered that. But Punk doesn't want to do it, so I'd rather see someone who's actually invested in return.
Yeah, if Brian is healthy and it's safe for him to do so, I would agree. Zach Henry was kinda on hiatus from wrestling at this point, so I'm curious how much of the CM Punk pipe bombs was scripted and how much were him.
I believe he worked on them together with Vince.
Yeah, everything was pre-approved. He didn't say anything that wasn't already agreed upon. Matt, would a face turn help Bray Wyatt?
I mean, we've tried everything else, so I guess so. It might do.
Give it a go.
Yeah.
God, he's never been face, has he?
No, not in this character anyway.
He's been like a tweener sometimes.
Actually, he was with Husky Harris.
He's been a tweener. Why not?
Yeah.
Give him a whole family still. Just make that goddamn family happen. From Dan! Will Reigns surpass Hogan on consecutive WrestleMania main events?
Yeah, I reckon so.
So yeah, it'll be 3...
4 this year.
Is it 4 this year?
Mania 31, Mania 32, Mania 33, Mania 34.
Damn it. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Midcard Express podcast. When is the best time to have a non-UK wrestler win the UK title? Or should it stay within UK but on main roster like maybe Finn Balor?
I mean, I'm with Nigel McGuinness on this one, on this week's episode of NXT, where he would like to see it only won by UK wrestlers.
Yeah, we want birth certificates. Scott Freeman, who will win the 205 Live tournament?
Rockstar Spud.
Use it.
I'm going for him.
There's like 2 spaces.
No, there's all
3.
All 16 have been announced.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, all 16 guys are there now. But I think that there's going to be like some injury or someone's going to get pulled from the tournament, and Rockstar Spud will announce himself at WrestleMania in the finals.
I admire you for sticking to this. Brilliant booking. Just like Triple H has, it seems the reports that he wants this very serious. So I don't think a comedy swerve.
That's not a comedy swerve. He comes out as a serious character.
Okay. I think Cedric Alexander.
I don't think it'll be Cedric.
No?
I actually think if it's going to be anyone, it'll be Buddy Murphy.
Really?
Well, they gave him the big hype video package on 205 Live. I think they're going to put some serious...
That's because they're doing wrestling right now. Triple H is in charge. A2J. That was difficult to say. Other than Ziggler, what WWE stars could benefit from leaving, like Cody did? That's a
great question.
Ooh. Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of someone who's like the WWE machine.
Yeah.
So rather than someone who's already done the independent stuff.
I never want to see The Miz leave.
No.
John Cena.
Yeah, maybe Cena.
John Cena in New Japan.
God.
That's that. Or in TNA.
Well, that'll never happen.
Sport last one. Sport 09. Will Elias become a main eventer someday?
No.
I'm going to say no as well. We've got time for one more. Michael Casey, will Kazuchika Okada versus Will Ospreay be a potential match of the year candidate?
I would assume so.
Yeah, that looks good. That's coming up next month.
Yeah.
That's all we've got time for. There goes the alarm.
Timer.
Bang on. That was bang on 0.
It worked better this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Click the videos that have just appeared on our laps to catch up with the latest WrestleTalk news or WrestleRamble. Subscribe to this channel and to the podcast version. This has been Luke Owen. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was Rambling.